Next on Newsmax Prime, Ted Cruz enjoys the assistance of a walker in his run for president. Governor Scott Walker endorses him a week away from the Wisconsin primary. Elsewhere in America's Dairyland, Donald Trump hopes to milk votes, showing up in Paul Ryan's hometown. Meantime, why is the school district in Delta County, Colorado, doing the devil's business? Officials there are preparing to distribute the Satanic Children's Big Book of Activities. I'm not kidding, and apparently neither are they. Rejecting moral relativism and understanding the real difference between right and wrong, Newsmax Prime starts right now. Good evening and welcome to Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, it's 1 week before Wisconsin. With the presidential primary there set for 7 days from now, candidates are making more than milk runs across America's Dairyland. Donald Trump held a rally in Speaker Paul Ryan's hometown this afternoon, while Ted Cruz picked up a key endorsement this morning.
I just fundamentally believe if you look at the facts, you look at the numbers, that Ted Cruz is the best positioned by far to both win the nomination of the Republican Party and to then go on and defeat Hillary Clinton in the fall this year. And that's the key, is we want people who are principled, common sense conservatives, who are people who do what they say, who stick to their guns, but also people who can both win the nomination and go on to defeat Hillary Clinton in the fall. And for that reason, I am proud to endorse Ted Cruz.
Governor Scott Walker on Milwaukee radio station WTMJ with Charlie Sykes making it official, his endorsement of Ted Cruz. For more on this story, let's call on our panel. First, Skyping in from New York City, we're joined by Liz Peek. Liz, a noted columnist for the Fiscal Times. On the left side of your screen, Skyping in from Las Vegas, radio talk show host and political commentator Allyn Root. Wayne was the 2008 Libertarian vice presidential nominee, but these days he is firmly in support of Donald Trump. And via FaceTime from Newsmax, New York, self-described Reform Democrat and constitutional conservative Julio Rivera. Julio's also a political writer and podcast host. He's here tonight in support of Senator Cruz. Thanks to you all for your time tonight on Newsmax Prime. And now, while Senator Cruz is celebrating that endorsement from Scott Walker, it turns out Donald Trump is on the defensive after his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, was charged with battery. Take a look at this. Jupiter, Florida police releasing a surveillance video that appears to show Lewandowski grabbing the arm of Breitbart News reporter Michelle Fields as she tried to ask Trump a question during a March 8th event. Corey is scheduled to appear in court on May 4th. Now, Donald Trump responded via Twitter shortly thereafter, tweeting, "Wow! Corey Lewandowski, my campaign manager and a very decent man, was just charged with assaulting a reporter. Look at the tapes, nothing there." So with all the negative publicity Mr. Trump has received in dealing with women, Liz, how do you believe this will affect his campaign?
Well, I'm not sure it'll affect his campaign very much, but it certainly adds to the narrative that being around Donald Trump is a somewhat scary place to be. Obviously, he's gotten battered by talk about all the riots and violence at his campaign stops. But this is something that's been out there in the news for some time, that this campaign manager grabbed the arm of this reporter who, complained about it, and her own boss basically threw her under the bus, which I think made her even feistier about this issue. But look, Donald Trump's followers have basically dismissed concerns about his pugnacious rhetoric and the violence that showed up at one of his rallies and so forth. I really can't imagine this is really going to mean much to them. I mean, I just think it's sort of another drop in the bucket.
Well, Julio, your candidate, Senator Cruz, spoke with reporters earlier today, describing Trump's campaign as, quote, an abusive culture, and adding it has no place in our democracy. He also says it helps clarify for the voters what the Trump campaign is all about. Julio, does this play big in favor of Senator Cruz in Wisconsin?
It may or it may not, but the truth of the matter is Senator Cruz is 100% right. I mean, when this first occurred, Donald Trump, I believe, said something or tweeted out something to the effect of maybe she's making this up. I mean, there's been bad behavior from Donald Trump, even at his own rallies, stating, I wish somebody would take care of that guy as soon as there was somebody who was, a descending voice in the actual crowd. As far as Wisconsin goes, I think getting the endorsement of Governor Scott Walker is huge. I think that if he wins big in Wisconsin, I think it sets a tone for the remaining states. I think it's still in play for him to get to 1237. It's going to be difficult, and Trump is obviously a prohibitive favorite at this point, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he can still win it outright.
Well, Allyn Root, as Liz pointed out, controversy has not hurt Donald Trump so far. A new NBC News SurveyMonkey poll released today shows Donald Trump approaching 50% support from Republicans nationally, right there at 48%. That's 21 points higher than Senator Cruz. Governor John Kasich, the only Republican remaining, he's at 18%. Only 7% are undecided. Allyn Root, is this all the surrounding noise going to hurt Donald Trump?
No, he'll probably be up another 5 points next week. I just wish, JD, we could get the prosecutor that decided to prosecute Corey for grabbing a girl's arm to prosecute Hillary Clinton. Because under that level of scrutiny, if he thinks grabbing someone's arm is a reason to charge someone with battery and assault, then I got news for you. Hillary should get the death penalty. I mean, this is a joke. Someone should prosecute Obama for increasing my health insurance from $500 a month to $1,700 a month. That's a real crime. This is a joke, and I asked my friend who was a very high up in the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, a top deputy sheriff officer, and I asked him to look at this, and he looked at the same video as all of us, and he said there's nothing there. In a million years, he could never be charged in California. Now, we don't know what, neither him nor I have studied Florida law, but in California, it's necessary to be willful battery. You can't make the argument that he knew at that moment he was hurting her in any way, shape, or form. He was in the middle of a mob scene, a massive crowd. We all know people want to hurt Donald Trump. He moved a girl out of the way. That's not battery. That's protecting your boss, the next president of the United States. I think Donald will do just fine. JD, this is another example of the establishment and the media all out to get Donald Trump.
Well, let's also point this out. Let me point this out, Wayne. It is worth noting there was a contemporaneous account that talked about the female reporter being thrown to the floor. We didn't see anything like that in the surveillance tape, either tapes we've seen. Now, let me go to something else. Senator Cruz back on the defensive today in the wake of that National Enquirer report, but an ally, specifically former candidate Carly Fiorina, stepped in and answered on his behalf at a Wisconsin press conference. Let's look and listen.
More definitively this National Enquirer piece by telling us on the record that you've never been unfaithful to your wife.
But if I may, Ted.
No, I'm sorry. I asked the senator that question.
Well, I'm gonna comment. Okay.
Do you have firsthand knowledge of his marriage?
I'm gonna comment. This is an example of the media playing to Donald Trump's tune. Donald Trump is a serial philanderer by his own admission.
Now, Ms. Fiorina stepping in right there. Liz, I'm interested. We can talk about the impropriety of the question coming from the reporter. A lot of people had difficulty with that, but I guess it's a reporter can ask whatever he wants. Did it hurt Ted in terms of the fact that he didn't answer and Carly stepped in there?
Well, I don't think it looks great, to be honest. I don't know why he doesn't just answer the question anyway, in addition to Carly Fiorina defending him. I think she's totally on the mark that this is not really what we should be talking about. There are many more important issues before this country than whether or not Ted Cruz has been faithful to his wife. But hey, it's been raised. Why doesn't he just shut it down? I don't know.
Well, Julio, let me ask you, all this swirling around Ted Cruz, your take on this question, your take on the Inquirer story.
It's the Inquirer. I mean, was the 300-pound baby real? Was Bat Boy real? All the Elvis sightings, pumping gas. I mean, this is incredibly ridiculous that anybody is taking this seriously. He issued his statement when the story broke, stating that there was no truth to it. I believe him. Let's move forward. Why can't this be about issues? Why, because Donald Trump brings this media circus along with him everywhere he goes, why can't we have a regular presidential primary where we're focused on issues and we're not distracted by nonsense?
Well, Wayne, I want to get your response to it. The National Enquirer was right about John Edwards and all of his hijinks.
I hate to be the one who says it, but, you know, I'm a serious guy, and I went to Columbia University, and I think I'm a smart entrepreneur and a political guy in the past, political commentator. But I read the National Enquirer. And you know what? It's not about Elvis and UFOs. And almost every time they talk about affairs, especially in Hollywood and politics, they're right on the money. And I got to add this. I have to add this. I have to say it. I don't believe Ted Cruz. I don't trust him. I believe Carly jumped in for a reason. And I do believe we have better issues to discuss. And we should get off this. But there's something eating away at me. If this isn't true, Ted Cruz should own the National Enquirer. He should sue for $1 billion tomorrow. But he's not suing because he's afraid what might come out. My guess is it is true. And it has a lot of importance here because he is a born-again Christian who claims he's holier than thou and quotes scripture and holds up the Bible in Iowa. And if he cheated, he's gone. It does mean something. It doesn't for Donald Trump because he's been on the front page of New York Post.
But two of the women that were implicated denied.
Let me state for the record that the way the Inquirer wrote the article, it was reporting on another campaign assembling information, and a lot of speculation that it was not Trump's campaign, but the now defunct campaign of Marco Rubio. Let me move to another topic. TheHill.com publishing an article on Paul Ryan, something I predicted last week, that he would try to grab the nomination at a brokered convention. Liz, he will have the power of recognition being the presiding officer as speaker at the Republican convention. Do you think Ryan wants to step in and grab the nomination in a brokered convention?
Nobody wants this to happen because I really cannot imagine that this would turn out well for Republicans. And the Republicans, I think everyone recognizes that this is an unbelievably important election. Hillary Clinton is going to continue the policies of Barack Obama. And honestly, there are so many things pending that have not yet been fully implemented, whether it's energy policy or climate change policy, or today's ruling from the Supreme Court about union dues having to be paid. It's
interesting you mentioned that Supreme Court ruling. We're going to talk about that later in the program. We will have to end it right there. All of you have our thanks. We'll try to clear up some problems. Coming back to talk about the Apple FBI case right after this.